in the heart of the Mirewood Fen, where the reeds whispered in forgotten tongues and the lilies bloomed with petals thick as velvet, there lived a woman named Agnes, a herbalist with hands stained green from roots and eyes that had long forgotten how to cry, for grief had settled in her bones like damp in old timber. Childless and widowed, she spent her days gathering moonwood and star lily, brewing tinctures for villagers who no longer came, speaking to the frogs as if they answered, and dreaming of a child with hair like sunlight and a voice like wind chimes. One twilight, as she dug for mandrake beneath a weeping willow, her trowel struck something soft above, small and pearlescent, pulsing faintly, as if breathing. It was not of this world. It had no name in her herbals, no scent like any plant she knew, yet something in her ached to bring it home. She planted it in a teacup lined with moss, watered it with rain caught in a seashell, and sang to it the lullabies she had once imagined singing to a daughter. On the third night, it bloomed not into a flower, but into a girl no taller than a thumb, with delicate wings like those of a dragonfly, skin like milk, and eyes the color of dawn. Agnes wept. She named her Thistle, though the villagers, who began to whisper of miracles, called her Thumbelina, a name spun from old tales of tiny brides stolen by toads and carried off by moths. Thistle grew quickly, not in height, but in presence. Her voice could calm a storm. Her touch made wilted petals unfurl, and when she danced on lily pads at dusk, the fireflies arranged themselves into constellations above her. But she was not of the earth. She did not eat mortal food. She drank dew and breathed in the scent of blooming nightshade. And when Agnes tried to dress her in scraps of silk, the fabric would dissolve into mist. The other creatures of the fen sensed her difference. The frogs croaked warnings. The old turtle at the pond's edge said, "She is not a child. She is a bloom spirit, a being born of a cursed seed, meant to return what was taken." Agnes refused to listen. She built Thistle a cradle from a walnut shell, lined with swan's down, and taught her songs, letters, and how to mend a torn hemony thing to make her real, to make her stay. But Thistle dreamed of the sky, of the stars that called to her in voices only she could hear, of a golden palace among the clouds where a queen with antlers of coral waited with open arms. She tried to explain, but Agnes only hugged her tighter, whispering, "You're mine. You're real. You're my daughter." Then came the night of the hollow bloom, when the moon turned the color of rust and the wind carried the scent of burnt honey. Thistle stood at the edge of the fen, her wings trembling, and spoke words in a language that made the trees shiver. "I was never meant to live. I was meant to return." Agnes followed, heart pounding. "Return? Return to what? I grew you. I loved you." Thistle turned, tears like liquid silver on her cheeks. "You didn't grow me? You woke me. That bulb, it was a seed of repayment. Long ago, the bloom court keepers of balance between worlds lent life to a dying land. In return, a soul was promised, but your people forgot. They broke the pact, so the court sent the seed to bloom a spirit who would reclaim what was owed. Me." Agnes staggered back. "No, you're my daughter. My miracle." "You are kind," Thistle said softly, "and I love you. But love cannot change what I am. I am not your child. I am the debt." The twist was not that Thistle was a sacrifice, but that she was never the offering Agnes was. The Bloom Court did not want the tiny girl. They wanted the one who awakened her. The law of the old magic was clear. A life for a life, a soul for a soul. And the one who nurtured the forbidden bloom must take its place in the court's eternal garden, frozen in silence, feeding the roots of the world tree with her essence. As the sky split open with emerald light and ethereal hands reached down from the clouds, Thistle did not fly away. She ran to Agnes, wrapped her arms around her, and whispered, "Then take me instead." The court hesitated. "You are the debt, but you are not the giver? The magic does not allow substitution." "Then change it," Thistle demanded, her voice ringing like a bell. "If I was born of a broken promise, let me make a new one. Let me stay not as a debt, but as a bridge. Let me walk between worlds. Let me remind them of the old pacts. Let her live." The wind stilled. The fen held its breath. And then, from the heart of the light, came a single word. Yes, Thistle did not vanish, but she changed. Her wings became translucent, shimmering with the colors of every season. She grew no taller, but her presence expanded, felt in every bud that opened, every seed that sprouted. She remained with Agnes, not as a daughter, but as a guardian, a living promise. And when travelers pass through Mirewood Fen, they sometimes see a tiny figure dancing on a water lily, laughing, her voice carried on the breeze. And if they listen closely, they hear not a fairy tale but a warning. Remember the pacts? Remember the balance? And if you find a glowing bulb in the mud, sing to it, but do not name it. For some miracles are not gifts but tests. And Agnes, though she never fully understood, would sit by the pond each evening, watching her not daughter glide across the water and whisper into the twilight, "You are loved? Not because you're mine, but because you chose to stay." For the greatest twist was not in the magic, but in the truth. The smallest among us are not always the weakest. Sometimes, they are the ones who hold the world together, one fragile, fearless choice at a time.